So let's go on and build this bomb program. Okay, so let's go delete what we have. So we need really two methods. The first is to, I've got a file I've already created that I'm going to read our points from. Then, I just placed it in the area where, at the top level directory so it can be read. So we want two methods. The first is to public static void read cities, and then the second one is going to be public static void, let's see, draw cities. What is it called? They have it in an example in the slides. They have it in, they call it boom for dropping that bomb. Okay. So, this is what read cities is going to do, is that it's going to take in a, let's go ahead, I'll do it slightly different. It's going to take in a string where basically that will be the file name, and it will return an array of points. Ooh, so okay, I just kind of jumped ahead there, right? I said I can create an array of anything. Let me go ahead and return null. We can use return null a lot to say that basically that it's just going to return a null instead of an array. And that helps just keep the method quiet when I'm starting to write it. So, but I can create an array of points. Point array points is equal to a new. So this is, instead of having 1 point, we have a lot of points. Let's say 4 of them, right? So we can say for all the for I is equal to 0, I is less than points.length. So for each of the indices in points, points, the ith point is equal to a new point, and p.x is equal to, sorry, and say that it's at, so the ith point's x coordinate is, so we create it, its x coordinate is at I, and its y coordinate is at, let's say y as well. So 0 will be at 0, 0, 1 will be at 1, 1, 2 will be at 2, 2. Right? So that's just straightforward how that looks. Okay. And then let's go ahead and print it out. All right, so let's go ahead and print out the point at index 0. Oh, it's got objects.point at 16C. Oh, that's a memory location. It's like what happened with the array. Well, what's going on here is that, why did I print this out as opposed to any useful information? Well, again, we haven't defined any behaviors. We just simply said point store these fields, right? And we haven't defined how it needs to be printed out yet. We'll learn how to do that. But right now, if you try to print out an object, try printing out the field you want instead of the object itself. We'll learn how to do something a bit more useful when we put in a print line statement. So 0. Now if we put 3, that'll give me, right. And if we made it twice I, that'll be 6. Okay, so we've got our file name. So let's go ahead and write a method that, given a file name, reads all the numbers in the file and builds points. So the first number is going to tell me how many lines are in the file, and then each of these are going to tell me the XY coordinates. So let's go ahead and say a scanner file reader is equal to a new file new scanner system.in. We don't want system.in, right? We want instead we need file data is equal to a new file object is at this location. Again, these are all objects, and somebody else had wrote them just like we're writing the point class right now. Only they have a lot more lines in them. File name. So read from there. Data. Alt enter, import class. Warn that we're going to go ahead and warn it that it can possibly crash. So we're going to add that exception. It says that there's a file not found exception, warning the user that if they call there, that's a file not found exception. Okay. 4. So now what we're going to do is that we need num cities. Right? The first number in there is the number of cities. Num cities is equal to file reader dot next line. I like to use next line, right? Read the entire line, and then integer dot parsent. Right? Turn that next line into an integer. Okay, so that gives me the number of lines also that will be after it. So rather than doing a while loop, I can do a for loop here because I definitely know how many are there. Remember, while loops are for indefinite loops. You don't know how big the file is. But now that I know how many lines there are, I can do a definite loop, for loop. So so now how many points do I need? So points. So point array points is equal to a new array object, and it had. So we're going to store num city number of points in this array, right? Because that's how many x, y coordinate pairs we have. So for I is equal to 0, I is less than the points dot length. Okay, now we are going to string line is equal to file reader dot next line. So we next line. So we get the next line. Now that's going to be basically something along the lines that looks like this, right? It's 27 space 43. So basically we have 2 ints here. So let's go ahead and split it up. You can split a line pretty easily, actually. String part is equal to line dot split. I'm going to split it according to space. So split's a useful method. I just figured I'd bring it up here, right? It splits it into multiple parts, right? I could have used substring, but honestly, I don't know how big these numbers are going to be. But basically, this says I'm going to look for the for all the whatever I put in here. So in this case, it's spaces, and then I'm going to split up your string into an array of strings separated by the space. So for the first line, if I do this, my line is the variable line is going to have 27 space 43, and then parts will have index 0 will be 27, or the string 27, and index 1 will be the string 43. And so then I can say int x is equal to parts 0 integer dot parsent. Of course, I could have just been using nextInt the entire time, but I don't like using nextInt. I just like doing everything one line at a time. It's just the way I prefer to do things, which doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way to do it. Okay, so I read that line, I split it up, got my x and y coordinates. So now I can say points, the ith point is a new point, and its x coordinate is equal to the x value that I found. And its y coordinate is equal to the y value I found, equal to x. So, and then that sets that up, and so I read all the points, and now I return points. So let's go ahead and, do that. It's equal to read cities.txt. For each, so for each, remember the for each loop that I went on about, so for each point P in the collection of points, our point array, right, everything's kind of coming together here. Oh, and it's getting an error because I called a method that creates an error, and I'm not handling it. So I say I'm not going to handle it either. I'll show you how to handle those later. Point P is equal for point P in points. Sout P dot X plus space plus P dot Y. Now we run this program, and we've read all the points, right? This printed out all the data. Awesome.